Hi everyone, this is Mahavirada Jangra. We are on Even TV Live, and today we have Sumant Jayakrishnan.
I'm very well. I'm actually very easy to find. I just live in a bubble, so I don't notice nothing more.
Yeah. So, Sumant, if you can share your profile with our audience, what all you do and how your journey started.
Well, over here, my position, my is here as a wedding designer, not even a planner. A planner is very different from a designer because it's a larger role. So it's quite niche. It allows me the freedom of actually working with all the wedding planners in India and around the world, because a lot of the time they do the design work themselves in more specific environments. I come in to take part of that aspect of it.
So, when we talk about wedding designing, are we talking about the specific decor part or the whole wedding design, the overall theme and everything? If you can
Everything,
specify in detail.
everything. It means involvement with the family from the beginning. So for a few months, or as much time as it takes, could be 2 months, 1 month. One is like an extended member of the family, sometimes a therapist. My role is to be
Channel.
a channel for them.
Okay.
So to understand who they are, where they come from, what is their world of the visual, and then I layer and build upon that. So there are points of time where I am the artist and I am my own muse, so I'm my resource. Right? In this case, it's the other extreme where I am the artist, but they are my muse. So I step back, I become the listener, no ego. I translate who they are and then layer my skill onto it. So it's something that surprises them, but it comes from them. And it involves everything from how it looks, the decor, details of the flowers, the candles, the smell, uh, the peripheral performances, because that for me is part of the experience. For me, I create an experience where they step away from their regular life. And
I
lighting, lighting, very important. If you don't light,
It's very difficult to handle a client who's badly confused with n number of Insta work and graduated from WhatsApp leads. How do you handle, like, you have to work, and as you mentioned that you work as per their requirement, but when they are confused, how do you handle those kind of clients?
actually, I don't work as per their requirements. That's given. Sometimes it's clear, sometimes it's not. I refuse, not refuse, I start under the uh, context of saying, look, I will present ideas after 2 steps of a process and procedure I follow. I cannot start designing for you or intuiting on your behalf if I haven't, if I don't know you. So getting to know them for me is very important. So it's called These Are a Few of My Favorite Things. Very quickly, it's a title series of headlines of food, jewelry, fashion, art, architecture, anything and everything. And I ask them to fill it in like a rapid fire questionnaire.
Okay.
Very important. And I say, not about the wedding, who you are. I need to know you. I say the people involved in the process, and ideally the bride and groom as well.
Majorly the decision makers who are going to, yeah.
Plus the bride and groom. I always have to reflect to them that, look, this is who the bride and groom are. This is what you're saying you want. Remember. Yeah. And based on that, I do mood boards, 100, 150 pages of images. And I ask them, tell me what you like, don't like, or if in a particular place you'd respond to something. It's a great cleanser.
Yeah.
It gives me a visual vocabulary of what they actually like, what they respond to, and then building on that. My role is to be a storyteller. I have to tell a story of who they are. It may be an obvious story, it may not. It may be quite subliminal. My role is I must be convinced of the story of who they are before I can do something.
Yeah.
After the step, when I present ideas, they're normally 90-95% dot on. There are changes like, oh, we prefer that to this, or let's change this, So it saves them and me a lot of time.
Correct.
Also, they understand I'm truly interested in who they are. I'm listening to them. and it builds a bond and it builds trust. And I have to find a way to fall in love with my clients, and this is how I do it. There is invariably something or the
So
other.
there is a lot of research work, a proper step-by-step
Yes.
process to be followed to actually know your client and then start working.
It's a process I've developed
Yeah,
because I was doing it.
Yeah, it's not like whatever you know is acceptable with the client.
And within this framework, things that they found on Insta or on Pinterest or something, it falls into this network. It's not a random series of floating things कि ये भी चाहिए, एक cut paste collage करते हैं, हो सकता है चल जाएगा. No.
That doesn't work.
No.
Yeah.
Because within their likes, I'll find, oh, this realm of stuff will work for a mehendi. This will work for the contemporary. This will work for the traditional wedding. This will, I find the stories.
Yeah. So Sumant, very important. Convention like this one, how and why they are important?
Oh, it's hugely important, and something like COVID has shown us how connected the world is, right? That one thing happens somewhere, it affects the rest of the world. We've always known it, we believed it's not. Conventions like this allow us to connect and exchange face to face. The energy exchanged when you physically meet is very different from energy exchanged when you meet on Zoom or a phone call. You manage. We've learned how to manage. It doesn't scare us anymore. But there's nothing for a one-to-one exchange, and it helps us seal things, communicate affection. Because for me, and I'll talk about it in the presentation, is the fact that for me this is service. And we have to have a particular way of being able to give of ourselves to be in the event space, and especially the wedding space. Right? So to make that happen and to share the different stories and to find the links between cultures, that's where something like this is hugely important, because we can share the little stories, make up the magic.
How happy you are. My favorite question. How happy you are.
For me, it's not about happiness. It's about a centering. It's about, I imagine myself as a floating entity of energy. And the happy things happen and they flash a particular color. The bad things happen, flash another color. The core of you floats. Right? So I think the core of me is love. I engage with everything I do on that context. And it's something I've only learned to articulate.
Things that inspires you when you design your masterpiece?
Beauty, of course. But for me, it's heart. If I see, and response. I give me a little love and I'll give you my heart. It's very simple. And
so more of gold or more of colors?
Depends.
Depends.
Things like gold goes for certain events like the wedding. Right? I've just done a wedding in Venice. And I can say it's one of the most beautiful I've done in years. Just because I was working with a client who, she's an interior designer herself, and so she had an eye. So I've also worked with her mother. So it's like 2 generations. My first event ever was with her mother. And so the learning curve and the full circle and the connections you make and then build on, that's special.
So what's your topic today on this convention as a speaker?
It's an open-ended one on weddings. So I'm going with the flow of that.
Okay.
I'm going to call it Sacred Spaces.
Secret spaces.
Sacred.
Sacred spaces. Good. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you
for connecting again.
Yeah.